Yo, what's up, dogs? I went and saw The Boy and the Heron like 2 weeks after it came out, but I got sick, so I wasn't able to do the review right away. I went and saw it with my friend and his wife on a Saturday at 6:40 p.m. at an IMAX screen in the West End, and I did not know at the time that this movie was being shown in subbed or dubbed. So my friend who bought the tickets, he got the dubbed version with the English actors in it, and personally, I would have went with the subs because I like hearing the original Japanese voice actors when I watch anime. That's how I've always watched it. So yeah, it was. I wish I do because I would have protested and be like, "Hey, are you guys down to read?" But you know what? I was still really happy with the voice acting. Anyways, this film is by Miyazaki, obviously, and I was hyped just to see another Studio Ghibli film in the theater. You know what I'm saying? We only have so many more of these left. Maybe we might have one more. According to Miyazaki, he's retiring again, so we will see if that will happen or not. But for me, I've been seeing his films in theater since Princess Mononoke, so it's an event movie for me, and I got the concessions. You know what I'm saying? So I was super hyped. There was a big turnout for this film too. Like I was not surprised, but it was just happy to see a good turnout for this movie. And I think everyone enjoyed themselves, honestly. And like just a quick note from like my friends who went and saw it, they loved it. They loved it, and we talked a little bit about it because like there's a lot going on in this movie that you could just like you could talk about this movie for days with your friends, you know, especially just like it's just a good conversation movie. I like that, you know. It makes you think. It makes you think. It makes you talk. So, for this review, we're going to do the good, the bad, and the ugly. I got my notes. There's really no bad or ugly in this film, honestly. I gave this movie like a 4 out of 5 on my letterbox. So we're going to get to what did I like about this movie, and I might have a couple spoilers in here, so just a little warning. The story is like my favorite thing in this movie. I really love the story from beginning to end. It's thought-provoking. It's an interesting journey of Miyazaki's life, right? It's an autobiography, semi-autobiographical, and it takes place in 1940 during the war. He loses his mother. His whole life is uprooted. The character who is his character's name is Mojito, and he is struggling with all this change, right? Like his dad marries his mother's sister, and he has to be uprooted to go live in the estate in the countryside. His father's away from work all the time. His aunt, I guess, or now stepmother, is pregnant with a child. And Mojito is just going through a lot of change and a lot of emotion. And when he gets to the estate, he is confronted by the heron, or the gray heron. And you don't really know much about this bird. And as the story goes on, which I don't want to talk too much about the story, because I really want you to experience this for the first time. It is a damn good story. And I would have to say the story elements of this is like a boy who wants to find his mother, right, and talk to her again and like say goodbye properly. Like he didn't get a chance to say goodbye, you know. And I feel like that's his driving force, where he's like he's always trying to find his mother. That's the whole like he goes on this adventure to find his mother. And he just wants to say goodbye. At least that's how I've interpreted it, and you might see it differently. And there's other things in here to interpret as well, as like the uncle, the old uncle, who's played by Mark Hamill, voiced by Mark Hamill. He is like this grand creator of sorts of this universe. He's inside a tower, and he created this whole universe, multi-universes in fact. And he is questioning himself as the creator of who to hand on or hand down the power of creation to, like who gets it next. And you could kind of look at that as Miyazaki going, who gets my empire next? You know what I'm saying? Or how do I pass on the tools of creation to the next, to maybe my son or the grandson or whatever, or daughter, you know what I'm saying? Like, how is that transitioning from my legacy of being this grand creator to the next? And it's an interesting to kind of look at, you know? And I really appreciated that. It made me think about just like life in general, and my own life, and being a child and stuff like that. A lot of things in this movie triggers your thinking of your own life, you know what I'm saying? And I really appreciated that. So the second thing I love, the animation in this movie, silky as always. That's all I gotta say. Animation, top. You know what I'm saying? I loved every minute of it, man. My favorite sequences are I love the frogs, the toads, when they started attacking him. That was a cool scene. I like the old ladies. They're hilarious as always and just animated nicely. The birds, I'm going to get into them later, but the birds look nice. Just everything looks nice. The sceneries look nice. Everything looks like a painting. It's just perfect. It's such a beautiful world, again, that I just want to go into and hang out. You know what I'm saying? The third thing that, personally, I actually like the English voice acting. And I did not know that Robert Pattinson was the voice of the Grey Heron. And I thought that was cool. Like, he went above and beyond with this voice. You know what I'm saying? And because we were talking about it afterwards, me and my friend and his wife, we were like, hey, who was Robert Pattinson in this movie? We were trying to sort it out, but we didn't know at that time. And I was really surprised to find out later that it was actually Robert Pattinson who did that. And I was like, that is actually awesome. Another thing that I really liked is I enjoyed the old ladies. They brought, and all the old people, all the elders in this movie, because there's an old dude who smokes cigarettes, but like all the elders in this movie really brought a certain sense of charm and whimsy, and also brought the humor. This movie is humorous at times and also serious at times too. And I just thought that was great. Like, there's always a little bit of levity in the dialogue and during certain moments where you're like, yeah, these old ladies are hilarious. They're a hoot. And the final thing that I liked, and this kind of just touches back on the Grey Heron, I really liked how he was animated, and he was very grotesque. And yeah, there's a scene where he's transforming, and you see the teeth coming out of the heron's mouth. It's gross and grotesque, like I said, but it's interesting. And I was riveted, and I was like, "What's going on here?" And then he turns into like this little grumpy gnome creature who's hilarious. So I really like that as well. And yeah, it all ties together. It's all dope. It's all dope. So here's something that I wrote down here's the thing I don't like. It's not even I don't like. It doesn't matter. It's not something that sucks or anything. But if you've watched as many Studio Ghibli films as I have, you tend to notice certain patterns in Miyazaki's body of work, right? And it's not a downside, but it's like he goes back to the well again. So I would say, like, remember, like, in Spirited Away, there's one grandma in the bathhouse, but now in this one, you have, like, 6 or 7 old people, right? And, hey, I liked it. And then, like, there's souls, right? There's these little, I think they're called, like, womos or something like that, these little bubbly, like, marshmallow things, and they are spirits. And that's a crazy scene. I don't even want to talk about that scene. That was just crazy. It made me, like, it blew my mind for a minute there. I was like, that's amazing. But that's in here too. So really, it's like just in the greatest hits of Miyazaki is in this film, which, again, it's not a bad thing. I appreciated it. I liked it. Who cares? I liked it. Let's see. The only thing that honestly, I have 2 things in here that I put down as bad. And these are just like super nitpicks, okay? Okay, so the first thing I would probably say that might be bad, and it's not even that bad, is this a movie for children, right? I don't think you should take your kids to this movie, especially if they're under the age of 10, because it's intense, you know what I'm saying? However, if you think your children can handle it, take them to it. You're going to have a lot to explain, that's for sure. But you know what? This might be it's not Ponyo. It's not Spirited Away. Actually, Spirited Away too much for a kid. Okay, it's definitely not Ponyo. So, yeah. Think about that. That's the only bad thing I would really say. And I wrote down 2 weird things, okay? So one, the birds. All the birds. And it's not that they're bad. It really just reminded me of how much I had. Okay, so my parents owned birds, like budgies, and I think a parakeet. I can't remember, right? And I hated those birds so much because every time I would wake up on a Saturday morning to play video games, they would start squawking and squawking and squawking. Because back in the day, we only had one TV to use, right? So they would wake my parents up. And it was just something about seeing all these birds on screen. It just reminded me of my life with birds and how much I hated them. I love birds, honestly. Birds in the wild, I love them. But this movie made me think of them so much. And I was like, that's funny. It's not a bad. It's just it's just funny to me. So it's not a bad. But here's one scene in this whole movie that I would thought was like, why'd you do that? And okay, so the heron comes and visits Mojito multiple times, like in the windowsill where he's in bed, right? He's bedridden for a reason. And then there's one scene where he goes to open the window or something, and there's all this bird poop on the windowsill and on the wallpaper and on the floor where the heron was coming in and out. And I was like, why did you keep the bird poop in this movie? Like, when one of the old nannies like scrubbed that down, and it took me out for a minute there because I was like, that's gross. So honestly, that's the only bad thing in the whole movie is that one scene of poop. Anyways, that's all I got, you know. So, do I recommend you go and see this movie? If it's still in theaters by the time I put this out there, yes. If it's not out in theaters and it's ready for digital download, definitely get it. I will definitely buy it. I actually have no Studio Ghibli films in my collection. There's a reason to that, and I'll explain it right now. There's steelbook versions and there's slip cases, and I think I want the slip ones. And the slip ones are really hard to find compared to the steelbook ones, and I don't like the steelbook ones because the steelbook ones look gross to me. So it's just a preference, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, will I see this again? Yeah. Oh yeah. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this because YouTube might not like it, but I definitely think if you've seen this movie multiple times, maybe indulge in some substances. And on that note, I'm out of here. I'm going to try and review Godzilla -1 next. And on that note, whatever you guys are watching, I hope you're loving them and digging them. I'm out of here. Peace out, guys.